This is the fourth consecutive year that Columbia has co-hosted a summit with the New York City Global Partners, a collaboration, a series of conferences which we value greatly. Today's Urban Education Summit proves beyond any doubt that by looking to the experience of other nations and other cities, educators can find a rich and virtually inexhaustible source of innovative ideas and practices. It is a resource that must be tapped if we are to maximize gains in K-12 education. And when we think about the problems affecting the economies in this country and throughout the world, by far and away the most important thing we can do is to build the minds of our children. The fact that New York City's public school system is the largest in the United States, with approximately 1.1 million students in nearly 1,700 schools, is well known. But to appreciate the scale of New York City's school system, consider that the population of students in the city public schools would constitute on its own the 10th largest city in the United States. To reform this staggeringly large and diverse public school system, Mayor Bloomberg and Chancellor Klein, a Columbia alumnus, and I should add a recipient of an honorary degree this past May, have for 8 years committed themselves to the arduous path of innovation. Their reforms have been discussed, passionately debated, and frequently emulated in other cities around the nation and around the world.
Now, the path to security and prosperity for the people we serve in every nation represented here today runs straight through the classroom, and that's what I wanted to talk about. The second great challenge for our schools is demographic. Today, for the first time in the long history of life on Earth, the majority of the world's people are city dwellers. And by the year 2050, fully 3/4 of the people on Earth are expected to be living in cities. And as a result, in cities everywhere on the globe, whether our population are growing because of immigration or in migration, our schools will now all face a similar and enormous task, preparing vastly increased numbers of new students, often the children of parents who are themselves newcomers to city life, to succeed in an increasingly globalized, urbanized world. We just cannot continue to do things in education the way we did them 100 years ago. There is no other part of society where we do that, and we've got to make sure that we, responsible for education, whether we're the teacher in the classroom in front of the child, which in the end is the way we deliver the service and the number one key in making sure that child learns, or people all the way up through the taxpayers that are paying for it. We just have to be willing to try new things because we are living in a different world. When we started, New York City school system was widely considered to be one of the worst in the nation, one that year after year utterly failed to educate too many of our children. And the key reason for that failure was evident to all. It was a governance structure that segmented authority over schools so that local officials were effectively shielded from being held accountable for school performance. Well, it's true in business, it's true in government, it's true in every field. When there is no accountability, here's what you inevitably get: lousy results and no reason to improve them. Too many of our graduates, however, still lack the academic skills they need for success in the real world. And so to build on our achievements today, we have now set this goal: making sure that all our students leave school ready for college or careers. College is not right for everyone. Sometimes maybe you'll go back later on. Sometimes economic necessities force you to go to work to support your family. That's what America's about. It's about people taking responsibility and working. And when this administration finishes the end of 2013, we've got to make sure that we as citizens of New York, citizens of this state, citizens of America, citizens of the world, make sure that all of the changes that we've made, all of the improvements that we've made, don't get turned around and go back to where we came from. We cannot do that for our students. We owe them more. So within the next few weeks, we'll present teachers and principals in our public schools, we think, with a new, fair, and detailed framework for how teachers' tenure decisions will be made. It's a process that will focus on teacher effectiveness and helping students learn and grow over the course of the year, especially struggling students for whom English is not their first language and students with learning disabilities. This morning, many thousands of parents across this city woke up well before dawn to make breakfast, lay out clean clothes, and get their children ready for a new school day. They took their children's hand in theirs and they guided them to the schoolhouse doors, sometimes with an hour or an hour and a half subway ride. There are students that have to take a subway and a bus and a boat to get to the school that they want to go to. But when I talk to parents on the subway in the morning, the parents, no matter how long their commute, every single one of them looks me in the eye and says, "Thank you for improving our school system. My child is into the most wonderful school in the city." And I say, "How long's your commute?" "Oh, it's only an hour and a half." If that's the sacrifice parents have to make to get their children into a great school, that's what they do. It is our responsibility to, once the parent drops the child off at the schoolhouse door, leaving their children in our trust, to make sure that we do our part. And each day, scenes like I've described get played out in our cities. That means we have an enormous responsibility, a responsibility to do the utmost for children. They are our future, and it's really that simple and that profound, and it's also that exhilarating, because it means it is in the power of our hands to make an enormous difference and ensure that the best days for the cities that we live in, the countries that we live in and love, the world that gives us opportunities, will have a great future. It's why our teachers have to be held accountable. It's why you and I have to be held accountable. And it's why we have to find new ways to do our best.
I like to start with a quote from about 25, 27 years ago. At that time, we had a presidential commission in America, issued a report called A Nation at Risk in 1983. And the key quote, known to so many of us, is, "The educational foundations of our society are being eroded by a rising tide of mediocrity. If an unfriendly foreign power had attempted to impose on America the educational performance that exists today, we might have viewed it as an act of war." It was 1983. Two things have happened to them, and please get your head around these two things, because otherwise this discussion will not impact the way it needs to impact. First, from 1983, when we were a nation at risk, to today, in real dollars, inflation-adjusted dollars, we have doubled the amount of money we spend on education, twice as much. And second of all, I think it's indisputable that today we are a nation more at risk than when we were in 1983. Something is fundamentally wrong with that picture. So for me, the real question is why we don't look at something that some people want to dismiss, and that is the way fundamentally we structure our systems, the incentives, the rewards, the consequences, the way we create a system that has the power to change. We cannot call ourselves successful until every single school is a school that every one of you would allow me to send your children to. And I promise you, I've asked every audience I've been to, would you allow me to randomly assign your child to a public school in New York City? And the answer is never. And I ask people to think, whose children should go to the schools we don't send our own children to? And until we answer that question, we are not going to get serious about school reform. I run a $23 billion system. People are not going to allow me to change it and realign it and create different systems and incentives just because I went to charm school. People will push back vigorously against those kinds of changes. And if you're not prepared to engage that, then this is not the work for you. It is not the work for people who need on a daily basis to be popular, loved, or admired. as long as there are no consequences if kids or adults don't perform, as long as the discussion is not about education and student outcomes, not about inputs, not about class size, not about budget, student outcomes, then we're playing a game as to who has the power. And quite frankly, in America, and I expect so many other places, the game we play in education is who has the power. Is it the union? Is it the district? Is it the school board? Is it the principal? Is it the teachers? These are the games. The adults struggling for power while the children not getting the results. No system can work if it's not built on accountability. Now, you don't like standardized tests? Come up with a better way of real measurement. But don't do what public education does, which is eschew accountability in every way possible. Second big idea, if I could wave a wand and change one thing tomorrow, I would make teaching the most respected, most sought-after profession in this country. In other countries here today, that's what it is. But in America, we have failed to professionalize teaching. There are a lot of reasons for that. The mayor cited a couple. We basically adopted a factory model. So what do we do for teachers? We built it on the following 4 pillars: lockstep pay, life tenure, seniority, and pension. That is a factory model. Nowhere in there do you reward excellence. Nowhere in there do you think about the people you're recruiting into this profession. Every study shows us those nations getting the best results recruit their teachers from the top third, in some instances top quarter, even top 10% of their college graduates. We're not doing that in America. We need this country's best and brightest excited about teaching, because that will transform K-12 education, and that will also change the world for our children. Third big idea, and this one is really controversial, is we've got to stop thinking of education as a monopoly provider and understand the importance of competition and choice. Think about this. Why is it that K-12 education in America is not respected globally, but our college system is? There are several reasons, but one is college system is not a monopoly operator. This school that we stand here today has to every year compete with other great schools to draw both the best faculty and the best students. That's what makes a great university. And K-12 education, particularly our neediest children, the kids who grow up in the toughest communities, they get one choice or nothing. And one of the things the mayor did, and you can understand why the adults like that, because if you get a guaranteed number of kids every year, you know you're in business no matter what. We should have to earn our kids, just the way Columbia College earns its kids. If we rest with the status quo, pat ourselves on the back and think we are remotely where we need to be, we are going to allow our children to inherit a world that they are unprepared for. America built the greatest middle class in the world because we educated our people to unprecedented levels in the first 75 years of the 20th century. We were the first out of the blocks for universal secondary school, and after the World War, with all sorts of GI programs, really dramatically increased college going and college completion. We are in significant danger of creating an elite entrepreneurial class and a growing underclass. It's happening as we speak. You see, the problem with educational crises, they don't occur overnight. An economic crisis, boom. An educational crisis, 13 years for a generation. We have got to challenge ourselves, not to think a little bit differently. We've got to stop being incremental and realize, certainly in my city, I believe in my nation, we have got to realize that if we're afraid to be bold, we will fail. And if we keep washing ourselves with the same warm water and telling ourselves with the same soporifics that a little more of this or a little bit of that is going to get dramatically different outcomes. It may be comfortable for the adults for whom the status quo works quite well. It will not be comfortable for the future of this nation or the children whose fiduciaries we serve. Thank you very much.